tell me, how did you become involved with the residency? How did that start?
It started actually 6 years ago when I first read about it, somewhere obviously in a communications through the district, that this was even being thought about and developed. And so I begged the people in charge, you being one of them, to come and visit our school and get to know our leadership team and learn a little bit about us. Um, Really purposefully trying to partner with the program with the idea of really intentionally wanting to develop a culture of learning here at this school. And I thought, wow, what a perfect partnership.
And tell me a little bit more. So why? Why did you think that it was going to be, something that would help you, help Gust, help your students?
Um, so we had already, for the first year, really been working on some mentoring and coaching. I had partnered up with another program bringing in paras that would work here in the morning and go to school in the afternoon to get their teaching license. Working with teachers, mentoring new teachers, and really thinking about that coaching and not only the support that it was providing for those new teachers in Paris, but then the actual learning that was going on for my mentor teachers. And to expand that and have the opportunity to bring in 5 to 10 more residents and get them in classrooms with a commitment of an entire year, with that consistency from day one with that mentor teacher, it was just so appealing to me. I always wanted to develop a learning lab, if you will, something that we are always intentionally, because of the structures, growing. And the structures that are there, um, they don't let us off the hook, right? They're keeping us accountable to continue to grow and be transparent about what we're doing and why.
So tell me, you just talked a little bit about being a training site. Say
Yeah.
more about that. What does it mean? What does it look like if we were to walk around? What does it mean to be a training site at Gust?
Um, it means that we have a second adult in almost every single classroom. Um, whether that is the para that's working to become a teacher or our residents. And of course, this is our 6th year with residents. And they are working collaboratively with that mentor teacher, and they're planning together. They're looking at the standards. They're looking at the data from the previous day or previous assessment. And from everything to putting together the classroom to planning the lessons, um, and then talking about how the lesson went. I love to hear my residents ask my mentor teachers why or even questions. That excites me so much because now my mentor teacher has to stop and explain, and it can't be because this is the way we've always done it. And when they find themselves in that, this is the way we've always done it, they consciously think about it and they say, I don't know why, let's talk about it. And so that's been exciting for me, that we don't get into a rut of this is what we do and here are my laminated posters that I put up in September and I take them down and put up in October, right? That it's exciting, it's changing, it's fun. I want it to feel alive for kids and adults in here, and for people to take risks.
If there were a new principal in Denver Public Schools and they came to you and said, I've heard about this, should I do it? What would you say to them?
I would say absolutely. If you really do want to develop a culture of learning, then put learning at the forefront, not only for your students, but for your staff, your employees, for everyone involved, paras included. We all need to be learning and have that idea that we're going to become better and better and better each day. And we're going to learn from one another, whether that be mentor and mentee or even colleague to colleague. And that's something that I have messaged over and over and over. It is one of my true beliefs, that is probably the foundation for what we do here. And what I have seen teachers develop into is just startling. I mean, I just catch my breath, and they're energized, and they want to continue, and they see this potential in themselves and the people that they're working with, and it's exciting.
We're going to take a quick second.
You want me to adjust my hair, my chair?
No, I think you look great.
Voice?
No, you're fine.
Something like that? Okay.
We are going to, I don't want you to move too much. I want you to stand straight up without moving the chair. Okay, we're good.
Okay, so Gust is a unique school, is this question, with many residents, many graduates. So what has been the impact that that the residency model has had on the Gust community?
So Gust is unique in that this is our 6th year with DTRs. Currently, we have 15 graduates that are teaching full-time here. And we have residents now in place that are looking for jobs for next year. And so we do continue to grow our own, you could say, with that many on the staff. I feel like what it does for the community is it not only provides additional support for the students in our classroom, which it does, but it also, again, just promotes the idea of learning, and that we are absolutely committed to become highly effective teachers to serve your students. And this is what we're going to do to raise the next teacher. And this is also what our mentor teacher is doing, because they value being effective and providing the support for kids. And we know that sometimes it is difficult to do that as one teacher. And so the benefits that we've also had in having 2 teachers focused on the classroom of students, what they're able to provide is obviously far more than one single teacher.
Some people might worry that putting a resident in a classroom might actually hinder the student growth, student learning. You know, do you think that's the case?
I have heard other principals who often call me to ask about the DTR program, and that is a question that they've had is around what is the data, you know, and how long do you think, or do you think, I should say, a resident is going to impact that data. So while they're growing in the fall, they're implying that there might be a disservice in some way, and I have not found that to be the case at all. That mentor teacher is very skilled, especially mine now, having been mentor teachers for more than a year or 2. You know, some of them have really been a mentor teacher for 6. But they know that their first commitment is to the students, and they will make sure that the students' needs are being met. And then they are working with the resident. The relationship that they're able to develop with that resident becomes invaluable, and they're almost able to read one another if you observe them in a classroom. And a mentor teacher can signal to a resident to help this student, or it really does not become an issue for me in regards to student growth. And in fact, on the contrary, I believe it to be a contributing factor of the high growth that the school has shown year after year.
Describe some of the strengths. You know, you've hired so many residents that have trained in this building. So describe for us a little bit about some of the strengths of a residency trained teacher that you're seeing.
Yes. So first of all, being able to observe a resident throughout the entire year, and then be able to interview them for a position here at the school, I feel like I already know that resident will make a perfect fit for this culture. And that is something that we think about, having worked so hard to develop this culture. I know that the relationships that they'll develop will be positive. They'll be able to work collaboratively, for example, in planning and data analysis. And so that confidence is fabulous. And seeing them then in the fall as I begin my observations, I know that they have some skills that I don't necessarily need to worry about as I do a teacher that I hire from a traditional program whose student taught for 10 weeks. I know that a teacher coming out of a traditional program, I need to get in there immediately and help set up the rituals and routines and the management. And I have approximately 3 weeks to do that. Otherwise, I lose. I don't need to do that with a resident. And I have 15 on staff. I have not needed to do that with a resident. I have not yet been able to hire a teacher from a traditional program that I haven't needed to do that. And so as far as the time and the support, it's different. While I'm supporting in the fall a new teacher from a traditional program, I'm supporting around management. When I'm supporting a first-year resident teaching for me, I'm supporting around instruction. And that's a significant difference.
So how would you describe, you talked a little bit about this already, about the impact of the residency on your school.
Mm-hmm.
So, you talked about that trajectory and, maybe just say a little bit more about that.
Really the impact, having so many residents in this school, and we always try to have 5 to 10 each year residents. And again, we have 15 alumni that we're so proud of too. But the impact that they have is, even in a meeting, the questions that they ask, the thoughtfulness that they give to different situations. I guess really they're so highly reflective that becomes contagious, and it spreads. And they talk with such a growth mindset that we're talking about 100% of the students and what their potential is. We're no longer talking about those kids and these kids or my kids. We're talking about our kids. And these are residents that are coming in with different skill sets. Some of them have already had a career that they're leaving, and they are choosing to leave that career to come to education. Very committed on making a difference and doing something that they can find value in and feel as though this is rewarding for me. And so it's just been such a nice addition, really, when I look back on 6 years and then to slowly infuse with new teachers and new excitement and this belief, this undying belief in kids, and that has been phenomenal.
So for you're kind of talking about your school and your culture.
Yeah.
So when we think about the mentors, how do you think being a part of the residency has impacted your mentors? Or your, these veteran teachers that you have that chose to be mentors?
So my veteran teachers who mentor the residents have come to me and said repeatedly how much they have grown in their own practice, because they want to model it the best way they can. So they're more tightly planned, they've said, and not that they were poorly planned before, but they are just really, really careful and transparent with every piece of the plan, and they want to be able to explain why. They want it to be obvious for the resident when they're first beginning to learn, and so that involves probably making things just really clear. For example, some of my mentors prior to having a resident had almost invisible management, if you will, and there are teachers that of course do. And then in having a resident, they learned that they really do need to make sure that some of the things that they're doing come up to the surface in the conversations with the resident, which caused them, in most cases, to rethink some of the things they were doing. And they wanted to make things more visible. And because then they saw that students were even able then to identify what it was they were doing, and then students could help monitor the management right in the classroom as well. And so that's just one example of the impact that we've had in really breaking down our practice in order to share and model it with someone else.
So we're going to zoom way out. Are you ready? So when you think about the residency model, this DTR is really unique because it is the only district-run residency model in the country. And so, you know, thinking about this district initiative, and you know, we talked about this, conversations with Brad at the beginning about this vision. You know, what do you think having a residency not only does at the school level, but maybe even to the district? If you could talk about that.
Sure. One of the responsibilities I feel that we have as a school in having such a large DTR program is really supporting training at the highest level our residents. So I always talk to my mentor teachers and to the residents in that come June, you're going to have a GUST DTR stamp on you, and that's going to mean a lot. And I'm going to guarantee that it means a lot to every other principal in this district, because we're not only raising for our own classrooms, but we're also educating and modeling and making sure that they're ready to take on any classroom. And that is a responsibility we have, because I know these principals and they'll call me back up if I don't. And so that is something that we joke about. And again, a GUST stamp is something that we've thrown around before, and I've heard residents use even talking to me.
Great. Is there anything that you feel like we didn't cover that you'd like to sell?
I don't think so.
You were great.
Oh,
you
good.
Were fabulous.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I hope it helps.
I mean, so smooth. Holy
Oh,
smokes.
what?
It seems like you've done this before.
Seems like maybe I've done it once or twice.
You were great.
Oh, good. I'm so
Yeah.
glad. I was trying to speak to your points, but I didn't